The second declension is made up of masculine and neuter nouns. There are many similarities between the first and the second declensions, so if you haven't yet seen my video on the first declension, I'd recommend checking that out now. Here are the second declension endings: us, io, oi, orum, is, os, is. Note that there are a few possibilities for the nominative singular. Neuter nouns will have slightly different endings. It's easy to determine a neuter noun in the second declension if you see it in a vocabulary list, because its nominative singular is rather than one of the masculine endings. The only endings that change for the neuter second declension are the nominative and accusative endings. They become identical. As you may imagine, this makes translating these nouns a little tricky. We'll try some out in a bit. You may notice some similarities between the two declensions we've learned. First, the is endings for the dative and ablative plurals are the same for both declensions. Next, accusatives follow the same pattern as in the first declension, but with a slight vowel change from u to o. Finally, the genitive singular and nominative plurals are the same in each declension. Noting these facts can help you transfer knowledge from your memorization of the first declension to your memorization of the second. Apart from the endings of these nouns, the process of declining them and using them is the same as the first declension, so I'll be offering only a brief description of how to decline them. The process of declining a second declension noun is the same as declining a first declension noun. First, you locate your genitive singular for the noun. Next, you lop off your genitive ending. Finally, you add on your second declension endings to the stem. Let's look at a couple sentences. Take note that all second declension nouns will be highlighted in red. Here is our first second declension neuter noun. Because me is accusative, it must be our object. This makes it easy to determine that bellum must be our subject, and a translation would be war frightens me. Here's another. I mix up the word order here a bit, but other than that, this sentence is fairly straightforward. Meus and filius must go together because filius is the only nominative masculine noun in the sentence. Populi cannot be our plural subject because the verb has a singular ending, and so it must be genitive singular. Finally, wisdom will be our object, so we get my son has the wisdom of the people. Okay, this sentence is a bit longer. Let's start, and this is a good tip for translating Latin in general, by looking at our verbs to help us find our subject. Sunt tells us that there will be some plural noun that will be our subject. Sunt is a linking verb, meaning that it often links a noun to another noun or adjective. We see two plural nouns, remedia and officia. Bellum can't be our subject, recall that it's neuter. These nouns will be linked here. The cures are the duties. Let's fill in the rest of the information. Belli can only be a genitive singular, probably going with remedia, the cures of war. Finally, bonorum virorum is a genitive singular, going most likely with duties. You may say, well, how do we know that belli goes with remedia and bonorum virorum goes with officia? Couldn't they be switched around, with belli going with officia and the good men going with remedia? You don't always have an easy answer, and frequently you won't. Translation is typically a little game of thinking about the possibilities of a sentence and determining what seems right. Usually, during translation, you will have more context clues to help you figure out the author's meaning and intent, which makes it a little bit easier. But for now, we're translating in a vacuum, so we have to do our best. I think a good translation would be, the cures of war are the duties of good men. That wraps it up for this video. Thanks for watching, and feel free to leave any questions below.